everyone, and welcome to today's My Games Recruitment Show, where, as you can see, we're talking about making Chat GPT really work for you. We have a fantastic guest on today, and we're going to talk more about how we can get the most of this tool that we're using already. But before then, there's two things I want to highlight. Number one, it's Mike 30 years ago over here. It's Pete. Pete's here with us today to talk about Chat GPT, aren't you, Pete?
I am. I heard it was going to be an AI-centric episode, and I just pushed the old man out of the way. Like, that's my bag, baby.
It's very good for him. And that brings me to the second point, which is we are having an AI month. So today we're going to be talking about Chat GPT. And then next month, we're going to be talking about using AI to search for candidates. And we're going to have that focus. So this whole month is going to be focused around AI. And we are very, very excited about that. But not as excited as we are about today's guest, Peter.
So excited. I love this guy. He's one of my favorites to just, if I go to an event, I'll seek him out. Yes, that's the way it is. He's magical.
We all do. So it is, in fact, Nitin Sharma, the voice of Rec Talk and a powerhouse in this industry. How are you doing today, Nitin?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm really well. Thank you for the kind words and for the invitation.
You
oversold me a lot there, but yeah, we'll take it.
No. There's just a lot of pressure on you now to make sure that this, gets pulled through. No, okay. So
carry it.
That's what I like to say. Right. So the way that we're doing this today is we're going to be talking about making ChatGPT work for you. And I've sort of mentally split it out into two main factions. One is really recruitment focused, the kind of nitty gritty of fulfillment and how we can make that easier for the people watching. And then we're also going to look at it from a business owner point of view, kind of getting rid of some of that commercial loneliness, talking about sales. And so we're going to kind of do the splits. So to begin with, I do want to look at the recruitment aspects that AI can help with. Now, I think a big one that people want help on is searching for candidates. And I'm guessing maybe Boolean. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I know what it is, but I don't know how to do it. So let's talk, Nitin, from your point of view, how can we use ChatGPT to help us look for the right candidates to fill our roles?
I think the starting point is going to be kind of learning how to prompt, right? And what that means and how that kind of fits into sort of how GPT works and operates, A lot of people have frustrations with kind of the output that GPT puts out and don't accept or understand that actually it's like any system. It's, poop in, poop out kind of thing. So you got to figure out your prompt engineering is what they call it. It kind of oversells it a little bit. It is literally just be as detailed as you can and need to be to explain to the system what it is that you are looking for it to do to be able to actually get the output that you want. So let's take Boolean, for example. It will know what a Boolean search is, but it won't know what you consider to be a good Boolean search and what you maybe don't consider to be a good Boolean search. It might know what the perfect Boolean search looks like, but also it doesn't know what your knowledge or understanding is of a Boolean search to that point. So thinking about how that kind of works, I would be going, right, look, I have a vacancy I'm recruiting for. In fact, here is the vacancy, and I would put in the job spec and attach that. I have this CRM, job adder, bullhorn, whatever, which allows me to run certain search strings. I have LinkedIn or LinkedIn Recruiter if you're rich and doing well. For the rest of us, I've got LinkedIn Premium, and and it allows me to do a certain level of search strings on that. Now, based on that and based on the job search, I want to find candidates that are suitable for X, Y, and Z. I want these key skills that I think are really important, but have a look at the spec again, inform me about things I might have missed. I'm looking for people in the UK. So, don't Americanize the language, give it in British English. That's very important. And then even go, look, actually, this is quite a complicated job title, for example. So actually include some misspellings, include words that might be misspelled that people don't know about, or actually variations of spellings. Some people might call it, you might have, I'm trying to think of a good example here, but take CIMA or the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. Give me all different variations of those qualifications and then pop it in. And see what it puts out. And then the next important thing is they read it and actually understand, okay, is this acceptable? Is this got, is this delivered me what I want it to? Actually, no, I think that this could be better. Then tell it that. It's a conversational AI. It's not just a kind of one shot, here you go, thank you very much. I've sussed out actually that by ranking the response and prompting it back and saying, look, that's good, I'd consider that sort of a 6 out of 10. How do we make this better? How can we make this a better prompt? How do I prompt you better? What things do you need to know that I haven't maybe let you know about to make this output better? And it will tell you. Okay.
Asking it to fix itself. I really like that because I'm rubbish with ideas. I like that. Okay, Pete, what do you think about what Nitin just said?
I agree. I think I think back to when I kind of first really started to learn it, and there's kind of two things. I'm going to do a very quick tip because if I don't, it'll disappear from my mind, but it follows what Nitin said with a few of his allusions there. One of the first things I write is, do not just agree with me, be critical of anything I suggest, because the way it's written, I mean, there was a release recently which went way too sycophantic, but it does have an underlying trend to just nod along and agree with you, even if you're going down what it knows is a wrong track if you push it. So that's one of the first prompts I put into pretty much anything that I write. But Nitin said this, and I think this is a really important thing to reiterate. When I first started learning, I made sure it was with something that I knew how to do. And I knew how to do quite well. So I started my first really deep diving AI prompt learning journey with translating transcripts from meetings into action points and key subjects, key topics, just with one person to keep it simple. But I knew what should be in there. So when things were missing or not quite right, you've got to do it fresh. I did it fresh after the meeting. But I could see, and what was really interesting, Nitin, what you were saying about, I would tweak the prompt initially, just little bits here, little bits there, sentences, and see what happened. And it's amazing how just one sentence can send it off into a complete tailspin. As an output, isn't it? Where do you think is there a natural for recruiters, a natural task to try and do that? Learning about prompting, keep it narrow, keep it focused, but a place where for you it makes sense to focus their attention.
Yeah, it's a good question. It depends on what you're good at, right? It really just depends on what you consider to be your strength. You might be really good at writing sales emails and BD outreach. Test it against that. You might be really good at analysis and data analysis. Pop a spreadsheet in and ask it to analyze the data that you've already analyzed and said, actually, this is what my findings are. But yeah, it's a good. You raise a really good point. You got to test it against kind of your knowledge, but it doesn't have to be recruitment related. It could be anything. It could be absolutely anything that you're a subject matter expert on, or something that is a hobby or an interest to you. Just to suss out kind of, okay, this is how to get the best response, or this is how to get the response at my level. But equally, even if you're unsure, always ask it. Look, I feel like this could be better. Could it? And in what ways? And it will always refine itself. I don't know why it does it. It kind of always gives you sort of a 5 or 6 out of 10 response to start with. It's sort of like, like maybe it's trying to imitate humans, right? We always do just enough to get by and just good enough rather than like our absolute best on everything. Maybe it's doing that. I don't know. But to your point, Pete, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is programmed to be agreeable. It is programmed to be to almost gaslight you and like, oh, that's a fantastic idea. So you've really got to kind of understand. You got to understand the system, right? To get the best out of it, you got to, like anything, you got to understand it. And so it is designed to make you feel like you're doing an incredible job, where actually the things you're asking it might not be that great. So asking it to be critical of itself and you, it needs to be told to do that for it to do it effectively. Will that change in the future? Maybe, but as it stands right now, if you put, I did this. Told it, I've got a great new business idea. I'm going to, buy 5 llamas and we're going to rent them out as rent a llama for your birthday. And I want you to help me write a business plan. And it did. It wrote me a business plan. We'd be turning over £500,000 quid, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, this is great. Now critique it. Now pretend that we're on Dragon's Den. Tell me what things have I missed? And then it come back with the cost of sourcing llamas is incredibly expensive. Keeping them alive is incredibly expensive. Do you really think there's that much market out there for people who want to rent a llama for their birthday? How are you going to market this? Think about the cost here, think about the cost there. And it went from a £500,000 turnover business to a loss-making business, like within like a prompt, because it's designed to be like, that's a great idea, mate. Yeah, let's do that. Until you tell it, don't do that. Actually, tell me what you know. Give me both sides of the coin here.
That's fascinating to me, because I think what in my head, and I may be wrong on this. And by the way, if anybody has any questions or queries or wants to push back against the lads, by all means, put the comments in. But in my head, sometimes I almost think that Chat GPT is a person because of the way it talks to you. But kind of remembering that it is a robot, right? It's a clever robot, but a robot nonetheless. And you have to be really clear with the prompts. You know, whether that is creating a Boolean search, whether that is a llama business plan, whether it is you getting the transcript with actions in it. You have to be like, listen, this is the deal. It's a bit like a therapist, actually. I have the same conversations with my therapist. This is the deal. I want you to be push back at me. I don't want you to give me like sycophantic words. And coming from that point of view, I imagine it's going to make a massive difference to pretty much anything that you put in here.
Most people who've had a bad experience with Chat GPT have usually used it for some sort of creative writing, right? Or write me a blog about this, or write me a job advert for this job. And then we'll take the first prompt or the first bit of output and then go, look how shit it is. Look, don't use GPT. It's crap. That to me is the same as sitting in a self-driving car, closing the door and going, drive then. And then going, look, they're crap. They don't work, right? You haven't input your destination. You haven't thought about how this operates and what part of the car is self-drive. You haven't even looked into it. All you've done is go surface level, bosh, do this. Oh, see, it doesn't know how to do it. Yeah, no, you're right. It doesn't know how to read your mind. So you've got to let it know. But you know, when you're on the things like the paid plan, right? So the I think they call it Pro plan. Yeah. Pro. It has a localized memory, so it remembers things that you've asked it and the way that you've asked it and what you like and what you don't like. So actually, the more you use it, the better it gets, because it gets to know your tone, it gets to know how you operate. And so, you know, prompt 1 for a Boolean search might be that I need you to do this. By the time you're on prompt 6 or 7 using the same thing for a Boolean search, it's going to know, oh, okay, you like this, and or it might question, it might clarify. Do you want this in you know, British language still? This looks like a role based out in Norway. Should we change the, you know, the language, or should we change the Americanization to it, because it knows what you're likely to ask it anyway?
Okay, I've got a really good question here, actually, and I'm going to put it to both of you to answer. So Sam has asked, when we say prompts, are there set ones to use for, say, searching a job, or is this just about being detailed in your ask? So Nitin, I'm going to come to you first, and then I'll come to you, Pete.
Yeah, don't get confused. Look, Chat GPT, AI, all these other large language models are built by tech geeks who like to use tech language and techie language. Prompt engineering makes it sound incredibly complex, because then people get to charge a fee for teaching you how to do it. It's not complicated. There's not set ones to use. It's basically an set of instructions that you would put in, you know, as you would talk to a junior consultant, or as you would talk to your, you know, your oppo, whatever, right? It's just telling it to do something in the way that you want it done. There's no set way to do a prompt. There's no better or worse way to do a prompt. And in actual fact, just ask GPT. I'm going to give you this prompt. Can you rank that prompt? Tell me how I could make that prompt better. And it will tell you.
I like that. I like that. Pete, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I'll pick up on what Nitin said. It's like instructing an 18-year-old college leaver, right? It's very intelligent. It's got a wealth of knowledge, but it's also, in some ways, dumb as a post. It's amazing how it's almost willful, its ability to misinterpret. Feels like it sometimes. And anyone who's ever kind of trained someone, it's not them, it's you. It's the lack of clarity or the underlying assumptions you've made about what the person you're teaching knows. Chat GPT is the same. But, you know, Nitin's right. It's like instructing somebody. That's the way I would write it. You wouldn't tell an 18-year-old something complex and logical. And no, you just try and be very clear. And one of the things I think that we don't do enough of in recruitment across the board really is say not just what good looks like, but what wrong looks like. We assume, well, I've told you that, and I see this a lot across lots of different points of recruitment, BD, the actual act of finding candidates, all sorts of things. Why did you bring that? Well, you said that. Yeah, but no. And it's so drawing both the green ticks and the red crosses really helps it to understand what you're looking for. And I would say if you find yourself writing a prompt and what comes back is to you crap, don't give up hope, understand why, and then start a new chat with a much cleaner prompt.
Yeah.
If you look through my prompt history, quite often there's about 10 in a chain, and the first 3 or 4 are me figuring out how to ask properly. But you do have to reset the chat sometimes because Nitin mentioned you have memory. You have a memory as a user, but you also have memory within a chat. And at some point, it starts to run out. It only has so much it can hold in its head. So eventually, your original instructions start to drop off. And that's when anybody who's worked like what I often see with is people who are using it with a job description. Here's the job description. Here's what we're looking for. Here's a CV and a profile. Here's a CV and a profile. Those things are really quite big as far as Chat GPT's memory goes. So after you've dumped the 7th or the 8th CV and profile in there, it's forgotten what the original job description was. But it won't tell you that. It will try and infer what you want from what it can remember. And that's where you need to see drift. So resetting yourself periodically is a really useful thing as well.
Okay, I really like that. So essentially, it's not like hacking. There aren't like just prompts that you use. It's just a conversation language that you use. Okay, all right. So Martin has agreed. He said that his Chat GPT game has improved so much by improving his own prompt engineering. It's going to be a skill for when you hire in the future. So I like that. But I want to kind of pull on something that Pete just started on there, which is getting it to rate things. So if you give it a job description and you get it to rate candidates against that, obviously, Pete, you mentioned that you have to be aware of how many things that you're asking it, what you can do. Do you have anything else that you think might help around that? Because when you're uploading stuff to Chat GPT, it becomes a bit of a different animal.
Is that to me or to Nitin?
Yes, to you. That's because I said your name.
Okay, it's okay. The way your screen is, you're looking at Nitin when you're saying that. So yeah, and I think number one, reset the chat each time. That is what I would do. That keeps it clean. And update the question you ask. But if you want to get smart, I think you can explore 2 things. Both of these require the paid version. Number one, you can explore creating your own GPT. Yeah, that then allows you to really tailor what you expect back and save a lot of that memory for churning what you're putting in. That's the number one thing I'd say. But that is a step forward. So I'd say the second option that you can do is you can create projects in the paid version. And when you create a project in the paid version, you can kind of preload it with some things like the job description, like pointing out exactly what you're looking for, what you don't want, what you do want, etc. So being quite clear on what success looks like. And if you do that, it kind of has more capacity to handle what you give it. And then I find you get a much clearer output. But again, try and treat it like you're treating a human being. So be explicit about what you want. I want to understand where this person aligns closely. I want to understand where there's some gaps. I want to understand where they have some red flags. Break it down, be explicit in what you're after, and you will get better and better results. But I mean, I've got another point to make on this actually, about where I think AI should naturally be used first. But I'm going to throw the question to Nitin as well.
We'll come to you, Nitin, and then we'll go back to Pete for his prompting answer.
Yeah. I mean, I echo everything Pete's just said there. I think, look, the paid plan is $20 a month. It'll be the best investment you make as a recruitment business, hands down. That's point one. Point two, in terms of, you're absolutely right. Custom GPTs are the way forward, right? They sound complicated, and again, you know, these are products that are made by techie people who like to use techie language. The beautiful part of where custom GPTs are now is that actually there's a conversational element to it. So you don't have to write a super prompt and put it in and explain what exactly you want this GPT to do. The custom GPT is effectively like you be creating your own product for your recruitment business, right? And it's they have it now in conversational format, right? So what do you want to achieve? What I want to achieve is I want to put in a job spec, my client notes, and anything else I know about the clients. Following that, I want to then upload 3 or 4 CVs, 5, 6 CVs that I consider to be the most appropriate ones. I need you to do this, 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 and this. So I compare them, contrast them, give me what's good, what's bad, what's ugly. Give me some feedback for the candidates on their CVs so I can go back to them. And I want you to give me a little sales blurb that I can put into my sales emails or my outreach to my clients as to the reasons why. It will go, yeah, cool, let's do that. Let's create that. And side by side, you can test it. So whilst you're building it out, you can go, okay, let's pop a job spec in. Okay, that's working well. Oh, hang on, it's doing some stupid stuff here. I don't like that. And you can go back into the other side of the chat and go, right, you've started doing this. I don't want you to do that. I want you to do more of this, less of this. In fact, how do we make this better? Like, this is my idea, but how do you think we should make this better? And it will say, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Now, it might start getting a bit complicated and say, hey, we can, using an API, tap into your CRM and pull you just go, look, I don't know how to do any of that. Show me everything I can do natively within GPT as an app. Once it's built and you've named it and you've put a cute little logo on it and stuff, you can use it and you can send it to anybody else within your team, within your business, your colleagues, your peers, your friends, and they can use it. And more importantly, actually, you could even probably send it to talent acquisition teams and HR directors and line managers who are in charge of hiring and say, hey, do you know what? Here's one of the benefits of working with me as the solo business owner that I am, or the small recruitment agency that we are. I'm going to give you access to the tool that we use. I'll let you have it for free. I'll just send you the link. And you can have a look at the candidates that apply, and you can do that. And then I can do the other part of the recruitment process that is, a bit more arduous and the thing you don't want to do.
Interesting. Oh, so you're kind of using it almost as a little sales tool as well as something that you're
why not
bolster your product. I like that.
Not all businesses that are hiring have talent acquisition teams. Sometimes it becomes the HR manager's responsibility, and the HR manager's got a lot of other things to do. Now, if you're engaged with that business and they like you and you like them, and there's a level of trust there, your job as a recruitment consultant and your job as a recruitment agency is a professional services one. So upskill your clients so that they see the parts of the job that you're doing well, and they can do that themselves, whilst you then pitch for the retained work instead and say, look, we'll take the more, the qualification part and all that sort of stuff. You know what? You're going to get direct applicants. I want you to pop those into my GPT, and then I want you to send me the best ones, and I'll put them into my process as well. Better than doing all the work for free and then being told somebody applied direct who we really liked.
I like that. Okay. All right. Pete, your thoughts on that? And I know you've got an additional point as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's actually a brilliant idea, using it as a tool. Because bizarrely, I do with my clients. I have some GPTs, and I'm approaching some people to start using them without my direct involvement. And actually, we're not going to go into this, right? I'll time box this, right? AI is going to be disruptive to the recruitment industry. It's not going to wipe it out, but it's going to evolve and change at a pace that I think most of us can keep up with, so long as we choose to pay attention. And one of the things that's going to happen is it's going to create a space for value add. There's always been a space for value add in recruitment. The best recruiters secure long-term clients by being more than just good at putting a bum on a seat. That's a necessity, especially in this market. You've got to be good at the act of recruiting good people. But beyond that, they add value in lots of other ways. AI right now, as much as you are all here listening to this episode, all about AI and Chat GPT, all of your clients, I don't care what industry you're in, most of your clients are thinking, what does AI mean to me? How can I use this? What's this going to do? What's so-and-so over there doing? If you can be just a page ahead in the book, be the hand they hold as they wander into that maze, you're going to start securing a stronger position for yourself that may become really important in, like, 4, 5, 6 years time, when AI really starts to knock some things around in our industry. So I think, yeah, it's not just a good small idea, it's also the first step of a trend that I think everybody should be trying to lean into.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so 2 things. We're going to move on in a second, but I just wanted this comment. So Eliziana said, another thing I've noticed challenges the AI in an interesting way is when I ask Chat GPT to impersonate the audience I'm trying to reach. I will give as much details regarding the target audience, and I've noticed that the response is much more detailed. So that's also kind of building on your point there, Nitin, as well. So I really like that aspect of it too. So we've talked a lot about fulfillment and how we can use it around that, and sort of Nitin sort of briefly touched on using it in a more business sense, but I do want to move into that aspect now, because whether we're a recruitment owner, whether we're senior, whether we're low down, we do get business issues. Perhaps we have a client who's being a little pissy, or we've got a team who's kind of got some aspect, there's some friction there. So Nitin, can we use ChatGPT to help us solve problems that we have with people, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. In fact, it's incredibly good at being a kind of almost a coach, or somebody to bounce ideas off, or give me the alternative view on this. I've used it in the past where I've just copied an entire email trail back and forth with somebody and chucked it in and said, I feel like there's something being hinted at here, but I can't quite figure it out. Or I think that, am I being almost hopeful or wishful in my thinking, right? Is this person trying to nudge me in a particular direction? And it will go, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. These 3 things that this person said throughout this email trail all hints at the fact that there's a hole in the process here, and what they can't tell you, hey, look, poke at this thread, or pull at this one. Absolutely, it will nudge you and poke you over. I've also used it for, I found its analytical skills are phenomenal, right? So I've kind of gone, okay, look, here's our, performance so far. And, here's the kind of the bastardized spreadsheet that we've put together that we try and kind of use as management accounts, so to speak. But hey, I'm not a finance expert. Can you look at this and give me some key takeaways? What do we need to be aware of? What do we not need? What am I missing here? And a lot of us who kind of go through the, start up to that growth phase where you sort of have 3 or 4 members of staff and you're really excited to start tracking spreadsheets and performance, and this person's putting this much on, and so on and so forth. The more information you give it and provide it, the better it is at taking just a whole of kind of business view and saying, okay, you've got this sort of a weird trend here. These are the times of years that you need to maybe think about, either increasing business development activity or reducing the amount of outgoings. You've got, as it currently stands, you're probably looking at 5 months runway before things get a bit touchy. You maybe want to up the targets at this point. It's really good at sort of analysis of your business, and then legal insights as well. It's not going to give you it's not a lawyer, right? But it's got access to, I've used it, and I'm currently using it right now for quite a large case that I've got ongoing. And I've gone from it being sort of 70-30 in the favor of the claimant, so to speak, to really, I would say 90-10 in my favor now, because of things that it's spotted and things that it's noticed, and access to case law that it's got. Look, I can Google case law, but I'm not a lawyer and I ain't got time to read through all this different case law. Whereas what I can say is, hey, look at this contract, give me case law that fights my corner. Bang, 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 bang. Okay, now help me put an email together as a response to this, referring to that case law. Yeah, cool. Here it is. That's the damn sight better than, and then, what it's done is, rather than me having to spend like thousands and thousands of pounds on a lawyer for each response and each letter response, I've managed to now get to a point where actually I can take that to a lawyer and say, this is what I want to send, but I want your letterhead on top of it. And they've gone, yeah, cool. It saves you,
I like that. Okay, I really enjoy that. Okay, Peter, I'm coming to you now. I'm looking at it, but I'm coming to you. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think, once again, Nitin's made a great point, and I want to pull on that little thread about that case law. It's got that body of case law, and it's important to understand what Chat GPT is fundamentally built on. It's built on like a huge proportion of human knowledge. It's not just the internet, it's publications, it's detailed releases from universities. It's got this real depth. But you kind of said at the start, and you wonder why it gravitates towards 5 out of 10. Well, the way it's been trained, it's a predictive model. It's trying to say, okay, given what's been asked here, this is what should come back next. So it's kind of aligning to the norm, and the norm is 5 out of 10, right? Yeah. You don't have to be much better than average to be better than most people, you know? So that's why it does it. But what that means is there are certain areas in which research is really strong. For example, client and team motivation, right? There hasn't been any meaningful research done into how to motivate a professional team for about 20, 25 years. Simon Sinek quoted it once. I don't know when that video is from, but the reason is we know what motivates teams. So, oh, Nitin's gone dark Nitin.
It's gone very moody over there. I like it.
Sorry for those on the podcast, listening back on the podcast.
The lights went off. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
I'm back.
What you've got is you've got access to this real depth of expertise, and you should use it like a mini consultant. So if you think, yeah, there's a £10,000 HR consultant or a £10,000 lawyer I can go and speak to about this, it knows a huge chunk of that. What it's not great at is knowing what happened last week. Right? That is still a problem. It can now search the internet, it can look things up, but it is curtailed. It's looking for websites. It's reading them much faster than you or I, but it's reading tens of websites. Even when you use the fancy advanced research tool, it's not working from its baked in knowledge when you do that. So it's really good at handling situations that have probably been seen hundreds, thousands of times before. Who do I hire next? What do I do when someone does this, etc.? It's not great at tell me the latest round of release of investments into AI tech that I can target for BD. It's not good for that. It's much more of an advisor than it is of a search engine. And I think that's an important distinction to hold in mind. So be aware you can tap into huge amounts of knowledge if you use it the right way.
I like that too. It's so much information coming at me. I'm very much enjoying it. Now, I do now want to move on to the final aspect. The reason we spent a lot of time on talking about fulfillment and how you can use it for that is fulfillment is important. If you want to be good and make money in the current world that we're living in, you have to be good at fulfillment. You have to make that experience good for your clients, whether they're your end clients or your candidates. So that's why we spent so much time in it. But I know that sales is still, some people are finding it a bit easier. I think most people are finding it easier than last year. But from a sales point of view, Nitin, is there something that Chat GPT excels at, or is there something that perhaps people should be cautious using it with? What do you think about sales?
Recruitment's not a sales job, right off the bat. So you can use Chat GPT to write sales outreach messages and script you a BD call. You're probably still not going to get the success rate that you think you will, right? Because it's not a magic wand. It's certainly not a silver bullet. Recruitment's not a sales job. Recruitment is a professional service, and Chat GPT will help you deliver a more professional service and move away from that sales mentality. Mm-hmm. So, you can put in as much information as you possibly can about your client and say, give me strategies, give me ways to get in with these guys, right? Give me information that would be important to them, that would allow me to open a door with them. Now, I'm fortunate with the podcast that I get to spend a lot of time with some really incredibly intelligent people, and have spent a lot of time recently within that talent acquisition community. Whether we like to admit it or not, talent acquisition has a seat at the table. Talent acquisition have decision-making capacity, and talent acquisition do use agencies. So if you are somebody who's sat there now going, oh, I never get any engagement from talent acquisition, or my clients don't have TA teams that use agencies. They do, they're just not using you, right? I'm in TA WhatsApp groups that are constantly asking for referrals. Does anyone know a life sciences recruiter based here? Can anybody help me with this particular bit of recruitment? Does anybody have anybody they can recommend for this? The people are being referred left, right, and center. That's not because they're good at sales. That's because they're good at the value delivery piece. And that's where I think the AI will come in. So look, we speak to hundreds of candidates a week. Hundreds. That's a massive amount of data that we are gathering that we're just not doing anything with. So why don't you ask your clients? So if we're in a specific niche, I know Kay, for example, was in the comments there. So Kay's in insolvency recruitment. You're speaking to insolvency professionals day in, day out. So ask your TA partners, or in fact, ask GPT first. Hey, I want to do some market research within this specific sector that I recruit within. Have a look at, activity that's out there, Reddit posts that are out there and Slack forms that are out there. What are people asking about? What are hiring businesses really struggling to find out? Here's 5-6 bits of research that you can do. Great. Now ask every one of those candidates that you're speaking to anyway, that information. Then pop that back into GPT and say, now I want you to put this in a form of a report that I can take to my clients. And actually, could you help me put a script together where I'm not selling my recruitment services, I'm offering them this information for free? And help me word that. Help me word that in an email. Help me word that in a LinkedIn post. In fact, give me some ideas for video. I want to create a 5 video series, 30, 40 seconds. Give me the scripts for that. Help me with that. That's what GPT can do for you. And that will change your business development outreach, because business development and sales are not the same thing. Business development is what you should be doing, not selling, because you haven't got anything to sell. The truth is you're not selling people. And if you are, you probably shouldn't be saying that out loud, right? And the truth is, like, your clients don't want salespeople. Clients want consultants. They want these people coming to them and saying, hey, I'm Kay. I've been in this insolvency world for X number of years. Here's the information that I've gathered from the market in which I operate in. And I want to give that information to you to help you guys make better hiring decisions. And you know what? When you do need an agency, guess who you're going to think of? Not the last person that asked you for 30 seconds or shall I jump off a cliff, but the person that gave me a detailed report and gave me candidate insight, and it was nicely presented, and it didn't take you all that long, really, because AI did most of the heavy lifting.
I love that. And that aligns so much with what we do and how we think as well. So Pete, what are your thoughts? Follow up on that, pulling threads.
I mean, it's perfect. One of my favorite prompts that I often use on behalf of clients and have sometimes just sent to clients is exactly what Nitin was hitting on there. It's, what do these people care about? Because that is, I talk a lot about creating content with clients. Create content that your industry, your target stakeholders are interested in. And oh man, it's the natural, we all have a self-orientated view of the world. Not selfish, self-orientated. We view the world from where we stand. We can't help ourselves. And in recruitment, we view the world from a recruitment mindset and perspective. And we are just not top 10 priority for a lot of our clients, especially hiring managers who have a number of day jobs on their shoulders. Even TAs, you sometimes don't make it into the top 10, you drop out because they've got other stuff on. So trying to get out of that is very, very hard. It's very hard to break out of your own worldview. So using Chat GPT to educate yourself about the world of your clients. What don't I know? This is my assumption about my client's world and what I think they're interested in. Break it down. Where am I wrong? Teach me like I'm 18. Teach me like I'm 22. Teach me like I'm 25. That's actually a little tip actually I found works really well. If you're trying to learn something, start with like the 15, 16-year-old education version and then move your age up. Or you can do it on education level. Teach me like I'm a high schooler. Teach me like I'm a college, university graduate, etc. But go into that idea of creating content with some ideas. But before you do anything, don't, and this is the thing about ChatGPT, you can't live in it. You've got to go back to the real world and test new things. Go back to those people who are in your network, who will give you the time of day and say, I'm planning to do exactly what Nitin said. I'm going to create some content. I'm going to be more value add. I want to answer questions you have. I think these are 3 questions you want an answer to. You'll get a much richer conversation than going in with, what do you want me to create? Because it's a cruel question. It's asking somebody who's busy to just drop everything and think about a big empty blank space you've put in front of them and fill it in with insight. Go with an idea and people will rip it apart, which is what you want them to do. And go from there. And that kind of applies with anything you produce from Chat GPT in this BD, even in a sales perspective. You've got a script, run it past someone. Because sometimes you don't know how to pitch or sell something. Got an idea, don't know how to take it out there. But the other thing I would say as well, and this is harder to do, but you can do it, is a lot of transcription tools will record on a phone. So if you're on your VoIP, it's very hard to get a salesperson to record the transcription. Hi, I'd like to tell you something. Can I turn on the transcription? That's not going to happen. But you can record your side of the conversation. And then you can turn that transcript in. You can coach yourself. I do it with my coaching sessions. So, we have coaching sessions with recruitment owners. I want to be better. So I'm constantly taking the transcript, pushing it and saying, right, where did I make assumptions? I know that's something I do. Where was I less than clear? Where did I not check in properly? Could my questions change? I've become slightly addicted to the feedback. I don't know about you, Nitin, but I actually, there are certain things now I can't do without running it past Chat GPT first. It's become my little buddy, my little Chat GPT buddy. How do you interact with it?
Yeah, same. Absolutely. If there's something that I'm kind of, well, most things, if I'm unsure about, I'll run it through there first and sort of be like, just give me both sides of this, right? And yeah, absolutely. It becomes one thing I've noticed that it does do, though, it will try and continue the conversation every time. Oh, do you want me to look at this? Or would you like, yeah. And it always asks a follow-up, hey, would you like more of this? And you're like, I need to stop now, because otherwise I'm just going to spend half an hour just chatting to Chat GPT, right? But yeah, once you start using it, you'll wonder why it took you so long.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the biggest takeaway I took from that last section is I love that business development isn't sales. I love that, Nitin, because it is this thing of business development is about building relationships and making yourself valuable to the people that you want relationships with. And I love that. And then kind of adding to that and using ChatGPT to help you to find those places of value is really interesting. And then when you add in Pete's point around, you can spend time in there, but you do also have to go to the real world and you have to sense check it and you have to use it for conversations with your people. And I love that balance.
Back, right? Yeah, bring the feedback back and be like, right, we thought this was going to land. This didn't land. Let's this is the feedback that I've got from the first 10 people I've spoken to. I think we need to redo this. And it will help you do that. It will help you rethink your ideas and stuff. So
yeah, I love it. Okay, so we are coming to the end now. So before we kind of move on, so I'm going to talk, before we come to the top tips, I just wanted to pull up this thing from Kay, where she said AI is as big as your imagination. And I massively think that everything we've spoken about kind of sums that up nicely. But in a second, we're going to be coming to Pete and Nitin and ask them about their top tip. If you want to get really kind of using AI more, what is it you can do? But before then, I want to tell you our next show, this AI-centered month. We're going to talk to Van Rath about how to use AI to find more placeable candidates. She's an expert. They're an expert in candidate sourcing. And now we're going to talk about how AI can help us to do that. So we are very, very excited. And I believe Mike is back for that one as well next week. Okay, so Nitin, I'm going to start with you. People have been watching this. They've listened to everything. We've obviously talked about a lot of things. But they come to you and they say, Nitin, I want to use AI. I want to start using it more for my business. What is the first thing that they should do?
Work on your prompt or your prompt engineering. Sort of focus on that. Figure that part out first, because that will change your perception of it.
I love that. Okay, I love it. So I like it simple. Perfect. Okay, Pete, your tip.
My tip is to do what Nitin just said, but do it by comparing job specs and candidate transcriptions. At the start, I said, start learning how to use ChatGPT by learning to get it to do something you already know how to do. This is the bread and butter of recruitment. I know what the client wants, and I know what the candidate just told me. I know the match. I know the gaps. I know what needs to be followed up. Get Chat GPT to be able to replicate you in that space. And two things. One, you've learned prompt engineering. Two, that's the first step to doing some serious automation on your recruitment process, which is a massive time saver.
I love it. Right, okay, and also, just luckily, Vanessa just chimed in there as I was introducing her next show. So welcome. So it lends me to end the show now. So first of all, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's been watching and all of the comments that you guys have put in. We really love it when you do that. It makes our show so much more enjoyable for us. I want to say a huge thank you to Nitin. I knew that he would be magnificent on today. So thank you, Nitin.
Thank you.
And Nitin, if anybody does have any questions or queries about anything that kind of we spoke about today, can they just connect with you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, by all means. Yeah. I always say this. I've got nothing to sell, right? So get in touch with me. Ask me whatever questions. I'll show you what I can do, and sort of help you where I can, or refer you to people who can help you if it's a bit out of my comfort zone. I got nothing to sell you guys. Just listen to the podcast. That's all I need.
Amazing. Okay, thank you very much. And I suppose I should say thank you to Pete for being here today. I knew he'd add a lot of value, and thank you very much for being here today with me, Peter.
It's a pleasure. Always a pleasure to be here. Sad I won't be here next week with Van, but
what?
I suppose Mike should have his own show back.
My show. It's my show.
Sorry,
come on, you're on a thin line now. Okay, so thank you once again for everybody who watched today, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.